Welcome back, everyone, and this is Sheepdog Smokey, and I'm watching as my state is invaded. I mean, you see the title here, and this is USA Today. This is not a conservative paper by any means. We've never seen anything like this. As Trump threatens to close border, migrants, they're not migrants, they're illegal aliens, overwhelm Texas cities. I keep trying to pause this, but unfortunately, USA Today does not allow pausing of this, apparently. El Paso, under a bridge connecting the U.S. with Mexico, dozens of migrant families cram into a makeshift camp set up by U.S. Customs and Border Protection. The families are there because permanent crossing facilities or processing facilities have run out of room. Several hundred miles east, busload after busload of weary, bedraggled migrants crowd into the Catholic Charities Humanitarian Respite Center in McAllen, Texas. Quit calling them migrants. They are breaking United States law. If I break into Mexico, can I demand they put me up in a nice home? No, I'll be thrown into a Tijuana jail and forgotten about. Can I illegally cross the border into Iran and demand that my Christian values be observed and my rights under the Constitution be given to me and that I be given a home and money and food and a job and all that? No, I'd probably be shot dead. But apparently the U.S. is required to ignore our laws. Organizers there are used to handling 200 to 300 migrants a day. Lately, the migrants have been arriving at a clip of around 800 a day, overflowing the respite center and straining city resources. It's staggering, McAllen City Manager Roy Rodriguez said. We've really never seen anything like this before. Along the Texas border with Mexico, from El Paso to Eagle Pass to Rio Grande Valley, masses of migrants have been crossing the border in unprecedented numbers, overwhelming federal holding facilities and sending local leaders and volunteers scrambling to deal with the relentless waves of people. U.S. Customs and Border Protection Commissioner Kevin McAleenan, sorry, Commissioner, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, said Wednesday during a visit to El Paso that the border has hit its breaking point and urged Congress to come up with legislative solutions to the problem. There is one, it's called the wall. Border Patrol officials were on pace in March for more than 100,000 apprehensions and encounters with migrants, the highest monthly tally in over a decade. He said around 90% of those, or 990,000, crossed the border between legal ports of entry. The vast majority of those crossing between ports of entry turned themselves into Border Patrol agents seeking asylum. The surge numbers are just overwhelming the entire system. President Donald Trump recently declared a national emergency at the border to secure funding for a proposed border wall, despite congressional opposition. On Friday, the president, in a tweet, threatened to close the U.S.-Mexican border if Mexico didn't stop the undocumented migrants from coming. Now, to the people writing at USA Today, I'm actually going to stop reading your drivel at this point. My viewers, if whoever they may be, can read it for themselves. I'll link it. One, they are not undocumented migrants. They are illegal aliens. They are not migrants. They are illegal aliens. Crossing between ports of entry. Those are called lawbreakers, criminals, or illegal aliens. You do not need to be inside the borders of the U.S. to request asylum. You can go to a United States embassy or consulate in another country and do so. You do not need to be inside the United States. You do not need to cross the border legally, thus committing a crime, and then all of a sudden just start going, asylum, asylum, as if it is a Wizarding World spell to negate your responsibility to obey the laws of the nation you wish to enter. It is insane, because we have Democrats in Congress whose jurisdiction, whose constituency are being overwhelmed, overrun by illegal aliens. Yet they're saying there is no crisis, when for years under the Obama administration they said there was a crisis. But now that Trump says it and has proven he will actually deal with it, suddenly there's no crisis at all. What they're seeing is what I've said for many, many times. They're seeing people walk away in droves. We have Blexit, we have the Jexodus, we have others being red-pilled every day to the fact that the Democratic National Committee, the Democratic Party, cares nothing for those it's supposed to represent. So they're needing to import new voters. They have states like California where millions of them come in, and, well, now under the new Governor Moonbeam, they're going to be given rights to vote only in local elections, of course. But if they happen to vote in a federal, there's no way to tell. We have the president saying we need the census to find out who is and is not a citizen. They oppose this because they will find that in the city of Los Angeles, we have so many votes cast, but a far lower number of legal American citizens. It's all a ploy to destroy this country. Governor Abbott has recently deployed the National Guard to the Mexican border. I'm honestly waiting for some idiot Democrat in California to find some liberal judge in California to say that the state of Texas cannot protect its own border. Because if you saw my video about Chick-fil-A, Ken Paxton doesn't take it. Paxton will be happy to fly to California and say, where in the federal law does it say the state has an obligation to obey another state and let its borders be overrun? Nowhere. This is a state decision. The Texas governor has all the legal rights to deploy the National Guard, and I applaud you, Governor Abbott, for doing so. Unfortunately, we're already overrun. We need to stop the catch and release. Turn the buses into Mexico. Send them to Juarez. Send them to Acuña. Send them to Tijuana for all I care. I don't care. Send them straight to Mexico City. Maybe they just arrive in Mexico District Federal. Then their president will realize that now Mexico is being overrun. If he tries to show up with the Mexican military to force us to take the people he wouldn't turn around at his southern border, I don't think the National Guard will take too kindly to that. It's very simple. United States immigration law states you come to an authorized border crossing, or an authorized point, which could be a consulate or an embassy as well, to apply for asylum. It is a request. It is not a magical spell that as soon as you say it, grants it. That case will then be heard. If your request for asylum is, I can't find a job in my country because, well, I don't like the fact that they're so low paying, that's not a reason for asylum. If your reason for asylum is, I want to get welfare and Medicaid and my children to be given school for free, not a reason for asylum. It's very simple. Our laws are our laws. We are a nation that needs rule of law returned. And that means you come into this country illegally. You should be booted right back out and told not to come back. But unfortunately, we have a bunch of spineless wimps in Congress who won't even tell people to quit doing drugs and leaving needles all over the streets of San Francisco. You think they're going to tell criminals to quit crossing our borders? Of course not. But I've talked long enough on this one. This is an issue that honestly I expect to be first and foremost for the next 18 months. I expect that a lot of appeals will go to Supreme Court, and Supreme Court will rightly rule that the current law states that you cannot enter the country illegally, and thus, you break the law, you get deported. And I honestly, at this point, am expecting some Ninth Circus ultra-loony liberal moonbat judge to rule that the Constitution is unconstitutional. We're at the breaking point, people. And the only question is whether or not we will break. And if the liberals have their way, we will. But for now, let me know what you think. Keep the comments classy. Keep them civil. We only learn when we debate, not when we argue. Also, make sure to like the video. Make sure to subscribe so you stay up to date with all of the content. I have a few plans for things that are not news reactions. So you'll want to make sure to be able to keep up with all of those. Until the next time, folks, have a wonderful, wonderful day.